Welcome to the Dying Breed. I'm Caleb, and today we're doing a draft horse. In fact, we're doing the biggest set of shoes I've ever done on a horse. This horse is so big that we actually had to make the shoes for him. I did not have anything close to fit this horse. When the people called and scheduled this horse, they said he was like a size 6. And I was like, okay, no problem, size 6, that's big, but it's not massive. And then the horse showed up, and I'm like, that's not a size 6. This horse used 18 inches of steel in the front. So I actually cut 19 inches, bumped an inch into the toe, which I'll show you later, to make a shoe for this foot. You can look at these feet, see that they haven't been done in a little while. Most of the drafts on my books, I don't shoe, I just trim them. This horse is actually a carriage or a driving horse, so that he pulls a carriage and he needs a little extra protection on his feet to keep him from wearing down. You can also see it's really, really, really dry, and the foot is just hard. Now, this horse, first time seeing him, a lot of draft horses are done in stocks. Mostly because they're so big that if they don't want to stand, they don't have to. This horse actually, he started out a little bit nervous, wasn't sure that he wanted to be a part of the whole process. And by the end of the shoeing, he was just rocking like an old champ. Now on a foot like this, generally we would use stock or bar stock that's 1/2 by 1.25 inches. And when this horse showed up, I didn't have any 1/2 by 1.25 inches. What I had was 3/8 by 1. So that's what we ended up using. You'll notice here that I'm not running my nippers flat. I'm kind of 45ing them around the foot. And that's mostly to address that flare. There's a lot of flare there, and we just need to get that off for starters. Also, this foot doesn't have a lot of depth. When I talk about depth, that's what I take from the bottom. So foot that I trim off from the bottom, making the foot shorter. When I talk about length, that's what I take from the top, the dorsal hoof wall. And there just isn't a lot of depth on this foot. Draft horses tend to be kind of flat-footed, and they have a lot of weight, and that causes their hoof to kind of flare and grow out. Just going to run my knife around and clean that sole up a little bit. You can see it's really hard. Those knives are sharp, by the way. That was a fresh knife. I just sharpened it that morning. If that knife had been dull at all, it wouldn't have even cut through this. My wrists this time of year really, really start to get sore because the feet are just so hard. And this year has been drier than normal. Like, it's drier this year than it has been in 10 years, I think, or longer. So here I'm just cleaning up the frog. We don't want to get rid of all of the frog or most of it, in fact. We just want to clean up any dead material, tags, anything that's not viable frog. And then we want to get rid of any of the frog that is folded over or is trapping dirt and grime in the commissures. And the commissures is that narrow chasm right between the sole and the frog. So now what I'll do here, I'm going to open my ruler up and I'm going to run it out 2 inches past, and I'm going to measure the widest point and then the length. And that gives us the total, and you can see 18 right there. That gives us the total amount of steel that we need to cover this foot. Now I haven't dressed the foot and I haven't gathered it up all the way. I ended up taking another measurement after this just to double check, because once you gather the foot all the way up, it will change your measurements a little bit. But it turned out that 18 inches was what we needed for this foot. You can notice that the shape of this foot is kind of straight in the quarters. It almost has a hind shape to the front. That's pretty normal for a draft. I had someone ask that question on one of the videos of a draft horse foot I was trimming. This is a pretty normal shaped foot for a draft horse. They tend to have kind of straight quarters, a little bit narrower toe, and then kind of hooky heels. Now we're gonna gather it up from the top, get rid of any of that flare and distortion that's left. Now you can see our mark from the bottom, and that tells us how far we need to rasp. And you can see how big this foot is. Like it makes my rasp look small, makes me look small. This horse makes everyone look small. Rasping is all cardio. It's really hard on you. Okay, let's go make some shoes. We're about done rasping it up. I marked the steel 3/16 off of center. That's because the lateral side takes a little bit more steel to go out and around than the medial side does. That's because of the shape of the coffin bone. Now this is called bumping. So what I do is I cool the steel off so just the center part is hot, and I'm gonna push material into that center. And we do this for a couple reasons. One, it's kind of like a savings account. If we need extra steel in that toe, we have some. It also adds to the aesthetic of the shoe, and it gives us a little bit more wear. So if you're gonna build something like this, you want enough steel that shoe's gonna make at least 1 or 2 resets. The other thing that it does is when we bend that toe, and we put the toe bend into the shoe, it will cause the outside to scrunch up and narrow up, and it'll look kind of weird, and it'll lose some thickness. It'll kink. By bumping the toe, we eliminate that. We keep it from happening, and we can maintain stock width all the way around. Now, I put a toe bend in it. The toe bend is probably one of the most important things about shoemaking. If your toe bend is incorrect and you don't have the right toe in it, one, it's not going to fit the horse, but the rest of the shoe is going to follow that toe. So if the toe doesn't fit the horse, then the rest of the shoe's not going to fit the horse. Learned this little move from David Sierra. If you have one toe that's a little too bold or pushed up and you need to have it drop down, you can set that up and just give it a good whack, and it'll straighten out your toe. Now, what I'm doing there is seating it out. I'm getting rid of sole pressure while moving some of the material that I forged in to the toe out to the outside. Putting a heel check in it. Putting good heel checks in, you need to have the steel hot. When you're making heel checks, it's really important that your hammer angle, the attack of your hammer, how you're hitting the steel, is the right angle. So I can't come straight down on the steel, that just crushes it. I'm coming back towards my body with that hammer, basically in line with where I have the camera set. Straightening that quarter a little bit, and then I'm gonna bend the heel. I edited this video and got rid of a lot of the dead space, got rid of some of my wasted moves, like where I was working on it and wasn't accomplishing anything, or I didn't have a plan, or I'm just sitting there looking at it trying to figure out where to go next. Nothing makes you realize how inefficient you are until you put yourself on camera and then watch yourself, and you're like, oh, I wasted a lot of time here, and I could have been more efficient here. And efficiency matters. I mean, I make a living at this. I need to be able to build the shoes quickly and efficiently, and it matters to the horse. The horse doesn't want to wait around all day for you to finally get the shoe built for him. So stuff to work on, I go to contests and clinics all the time to try to improve those skills so that I'm more efficient, and so I make better shoes. Now, that shape of that shoe matches the coffin bone. The white line matches the coffin bone. So when we're shaping and putting toes in and trying to shape that shoe to the hoof itself, not the other way around, we're trying to shape to the coffin bone, trying to shape to the anatomy of the horse. You can see my hand shaking there just a second ago. 3/8 by 1 is way easier to work than 1/2 by 1 1/4, but it's still a workout, and it was 90 something degrees this particular day, so it was hot. What I'm doing here is I'm using a T-square to place my nails. So I get the shoe kind of built, I get everything kind of where I want to have it, and then I'm using a grease pencil to determine where I'm going to put my nails. Now, midway through this, I made the decision on the lateral branch right there to put 4 nails in instead of 3. When I'm punching nails like this is a drift punch that I'm using here. When I'm doing that, I am trying to get the nails, where I punch out the little puck that's left. When I do that, I want that dead center of the bar stock. That way, when I drive my nails, if I'm using the appropriate bar stock for the horse and my nails are dead center, they will go right into the white line, which is where your nails are supposed to go. So you can see the angle that I have my drift punch there. That's the angle of my nail. That's pitching your nails. So we're trying to pitch the nails at exactly the same angle as the hoof wall. That's how we get the nails to go up high and be more secure. Okay, we'll punch out. Pritchel the nail holes. These are just plain stamps, so they just have a hole for the nail to go into. Oh, I got my Pritchel stuck. That's how you break a Pritchel, by the way. This is a head stamp, so the drift punch makes the hole and doesn't upset as much material. And then I come back at a kind of a black heat, and I use the head stamp to literally punch the head of the nail into the steel so it fits perfectly. So we're drawing clips on the shoe. Clips are meant to take the shear force off the nails and offer some stability to the foot as a whole. So toe clips take shearing force off. You add another clip and it starts to really stabilize the hoof capsule as well. Now, drawing clips, it's all about accuracy. Some days I'm really great, some days my accuracy isn't as great. You can see where I have to hit it. You have to hit the same spot every time, otherwise your source gets really wide and your clips start to look like mouse ears. They just get all weird and they don't look like nice little triangles. We lay the clip over the anvil and then we hit the base of the clip. We're not hitting the whole clip, we're actually just hitting the portion of the clip that's right on the edge of the anvil. And right, so you put the shoe up against the anvil and then you hit that portion of the clip right at the corner of the anvil and right at the source of the clip, and then that pushes the clip up. And then your last couple of blows, you hit it nice and flat and get rid of all the little divots that you put into the clip. Okay, now we're going to check our fit. So went to the foot kind of cold the first time, just checking to see where everything's sitting, making sure my heels are where they need to be, making sure my clips are where they need to be. Usually after I get the clips I'll do a burn like this. I'll cut the clips in and then do a final burn. Get rid of sole pressure. Sole pressure is, if you forget that, it's a really good way to have a lame horse fast. Horses do not like sole pressure. So it's really important to make sure when you're shoeing these horses that you don't leave any sole pressure where the sole is touching a shoe and creating a pressure point. Okay, we're gonna nail that shoe up. I'm using Kirkhart Hybrid 5s. It was the biggest E5. E5 was the biggest nail I had this particular day. And it's a big nail. They're long, but they were not big enough nails for this horse. This horse takes like an E9. The thing about nailing shoes on plain stamps, you have to make sure your nails are where you want them before you drive them home, because you cannot pull them back out. They're flush with the shoe. You can't get a hold of them, so they need to be where they're supposed to be before you drive them all the way home. All right, we're going to finish up the foot. Cut the nails off. I started cutting my nails off about 2.5 years ago instead of ringing them off. Ringing them off is where I take the claw of the hammer, hook it on the nail, and twist and break the excess nail off. I think you get better clinches this way, slightly faster, and you can get a much more controlled height. So your clinch is the same height from the hoof wall on every one. It's amazing how big these horses are. And it's amazing that they let us do this, really. This horse does not have to let me shoe him. When you're clinching, we're trying not to drag the nail through the hoof wall. We're just trying to bend it over and get it tight against the hoof wall. Well, that'll about do it for today. Remember, this is a 4-part video series, so there'll be 3 other videos on this horse, on the other front foot and 2 on the back foot. So hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you next time when you get to see the other foot on this beautiful boy.